Hello, everyone. We have a beautiful guest today. We have the wonderful, glorious Kate Street. I think she calls herself Katinka these days. Is that right?
Oh, either's fine. I'm good with
Either's
either.
fine. Kate, an absolute pioneer of the spirit baby realm and communicating with spirit babies. She was doing it long before, people even knew what spirit baby communication was. And even now today, it's still pioneering work. If you're watching this little chat between Kate and I, it is just, you are one of a new breed of mama who's come to the planet to parent these star babies, these higher dimensional babies that are coming to the planet. How are you today, Kate? Thanks so much for joining us.
I always love talking to you, Belle. I always love talking to you. I tell people it's like talking to myself. It's like talking to myself. Thank you for having me.
Oh my goodness. It's just like, for those of you who have heard a little bit about my story, Kate helped me on my journey when I was wanting to communicate with my spirit baby, and I'd had a few dreams and I wanted to know if I wasn't crazy. So I started Googling, like, is this a thing? Do babies communicate before they come to the realm? Because I felt like I was crazy, because I started telling people a couple of the dreams that I had, and my friend said to me, I really think you're stretching because you want it so bad. I think you're kind of stretching. And then I found Kate. Whoa, I'm not crazy.
I know. I always tell people, if you think you're making it up, you're not. You think you're making it up, but it's actually your intuition. Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah.
So what, like Kate no longer serves the spirit baby realm, but I just called her back in because her energy, even though, she no longer serves the realm, directly, her energy is linked somehow to all of this. So she leaves a legacy with her book, What All Spirit Babies Want Their Mamas to Know. So make sure you grab that book if you haven't read it yet. It's absolutely amazing. But Kate still has this connection with the spirit baby realm. What do you think that's about, Kate?
Well, honestly, I think it has to do with you. I know you've told a lot of people that, I pioneered for you. And when it was time to retire, I just knew when it was time to move on. I couldn't get myself to do it anymore. I didn't want to do it anymore. It felt like a heavy burden, even though I loved it, but I just knew it was time to move on. And I just felt like there was this void. I felt so bad when people wanted a reading from me and I didn't have anything to give them. And so when you heard that I was retiring, that my contract was over, and you said, well, I think my contract just beginning, I couldn't have been more thrilled. I couldn't have been more thrilled. And it's funny, I'm just going to tell your people that you would ask me to do a content video on my own, in my own time, to share with your patrons. And I just got this big, no, I can't sit down by myself and do this content anymore, but I can and want to and joyfully will participate in a conversation with you, Belle. So for some reason, I'm supposed to be here participating in it with you, but I don't know, you're kind of holding the door open for me. It's the only way I want to participate is through conversations. And as you and I were talking about just a little bit before we got on the air, she's talking to you and hearing your experiences of being a spirit baby intuitive are just so, I never had anyone to talk about those things about. And you're saying the exact same things that I've experienced. And it's just so validating and affirming and refreshing. And I want to have these conversations with you. But for me, for some reason, it has to be a conversation with you.
Absolutely.
Maybe to keep the focus on you, that you're the one who's helping people now. But yeah, I still want to participate, but only through you, which I found kind of cool.
Yeah, it's cool. And what we were saying just before we came on the air is, when people come to me for a reading or a session, like, I have created these amazing programs, and I've got some wonderful testimonials from women who have done them. I've created a conscious conception program. I've created a preparing for birth program. I've created a program that goes along with, your IVF, right? But I've only sold a couple of those programs. I'm going to be completely transparent here, because people want me to do it for them. They just want to have a reading. They want me to tell them when they're going to get pregnant, when it's going to happen, and what month it's going to happen. And it's like, they don't want to hear the messages that I have to say, oh, okay, well, maybe your baby's asking for you to change your job, or, they don't want to do that. They're like, no, just tell me when. And
Exactly.
these
And
things,
it was so
they
good when
want
you
you to
relayed that
know.
to me.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And that's something I've always said on my website. If you're here, it's not just because you're going to be a mother, anyone can be a mother. You're here, with this information because you're on this journey of spiritual enlightenment. You're bringing in these higher dimensional babies. These higher dimensional babies of a certain frequency that we have to meet them at. And to do that, there's a lot of work. There's a huge frequency jump. I think you and I have talked about in the generations before, there's a little frequency jump between each generation. Like we're a little higher than our parents and they're a little higher than their than our grandparents. But with these kids coming in now, there's a huge frequency jump. And so we have a lot of catching up to do to get to their frequency. And that actually, you and I were also talking about that most people coming to you are trying to conceive. And when I started Love from Baby, I had this vision in mind that it was going to be about teaching pregnant women how to communicate with their babies. But there is a lot of work to be done before we even get pregnant. So that is why, the big audience is the trying to conceive, because there's a lot of work to do to catch up, our frequency and our vibration. And there is work to do. It's not easy work either. It's not easy work.
No.
But just like you said, one of the hard things for me was a lot of people just wanted to be told, well, this is what you should eat. And, this is exactly what you should do. And your baby's going to be born in May. That's what they want. And that's not how it works. And your experience is there is a lot of women that are ready to do the work, but not most of them in my experience. But the ones that are high vibrational and ready to do the work, I mean, they meet their babies. Even if there's ups and downs and roller coasters and letting go and tragedies beforehand, they meet their babies. They do.
And
but there's
I
work.
want to be
There
clear,
is
you
work.
don't have to earn your baby. It's not about earning your baby. It's not about, it's not that you have
Exactly.
to deserve your baby. It's that your baby is offering you an invitation to step up and meet them vibrationally.
Yep.
Right? It's a fertile pause, an
Yep.
opportunity to, birth this version of yourself. And I realized that there's only so few women on the planet that are ready for this journey now, because as I was just saying, I've created these programs and the program sales have been really slow. So I thought, okay, well, maybe I'll try and I'm trying to get the word out there. So I thought, okay, well, I'll look for some influencers on Instagram that have got 100,000 followers and they've been on a long fertility journey. So I found a dozen women. It took me all this time to find these women who have been, they've done 10 cycles of IVF, 15 cycles of IVF, and they've said things like, this is my very last chance to have a baby. I'm never going to have another chance. This is my very last cycle. So I messaged them and I say, hey, I'd love to offer you this program. It's not meant to replace IVF. It's meant to support you on your journey and share a little bit about my story. I'd love to offer you this program with the intention that if they like it, that they'll share it, right? That's, my transparency. And over a dozen women that I sent this to, I either got no response or absolutely not, I'm not interested. And I was like, oh, okay. So I realized in that process, as much as it was confronting, I realized that I was trying to push my level of consciousness and my level of awareness onto people who weren't ready yet.
Right. And you know what? They wouldn't be ready for it. There's a part of them that knows they're not ready for it. So it's like they're not even seeing you,
No, that's
They're
right.
not even seeing you. And if they were seeing you, the information wouldn't exactly get through. I've learned that when you talk to people that are of a different frequency, they either don't hear you at all, or they take your information and level it down and kind of, twist it in a way that's not exactly what you're trying to portray.
Yes.
But it's funny you say that, because I also want to say that when you're talking, 15 rounds of IVF and then turning away something like your program, it's just so obvious. And it's just human nature. You get caught in a loop, they're caught in this loop. And,
They're
you know,
attached
it's
to their
habitual.
100,000 followers and never being able to conceive. They're attached to their story of how they've built their brand.
Exactly. This is their identity. So now they have an identity of infertility. And that is how that's how people are paying attention to them, because they're infertile. So they're stuck in this loop. And so you're offering a way out of this loop, which is, oh my God, it's like helping them shed that identity, but they
Yes.
don't want to.
No,
What
they
they
don't
don't
want to.
want to.
They don't want to shed. And I
They
was
think
like, oh
right.
my
They think
God.
they want to, but they don't. They
No,
don't.
no,
Yeah.
no. So for you, if you're watching this, you are a different kind of woman. You are ready to level up. You are ready to
Yeah.
grow, to shed that old skin and to do what's required, which might mean changing your job. It might mean leaving your marriage and starting a new one. It might mean, you know, leaving some sort of career and studying another. It might be art, craft, whatever. We don't know. It's up to you and your baby to decide what
Right.
that journey is going to look like, right?
Yes, but you know what? And God, there's just so much to say. You just talked to me, and there's like all these things that want to come out. But um, this is no less than enlightenment. It's the same as enlightenment, you know? And that's what I say to women. You're not just becoming a mother, you're becoming an enlightened mother. And whether you're trying to conceive or not, this is a journey to enlightenment. And in doing that, you have to shed these identities, you have to shed these old stories. And it is not easy, because it is so ingrained in us through human programming, and then how we're brought up, and then how we choose to live our lives. It's patterns, deep ingrained patterns. But you're right. Anyone who's watching right now, this is the invitation to leave that story, to leave that pattern. And it really starts in the head. I can think of one woman in particular. And I was working closely with a group of 10 women to do the Divine Mother activation. It was the first time I did it, and I just offered it to 10 so I could kind of follow them along closely. And there was just one woman who totally got it. I think, like you, it had taken her 8 years, but she took everything, and she was just such a joy. She took everything, and she changed her story. Instead of, you know, you get in these loops of, I have an infertile body, and, you know, I'm so used to getting my period. But she changed her story. She was drawing birth art. She was dancing with her baby. She was saying, I'm pregnant. She was saying, I already am pregnant. And she had this magical conception. She had a magical conception, but the thing is, she changed her story, and that's it. So, you know, you start by changing the story in your head. You talk to your body different. You expect different things. And it's not like it happens in a month, you know, and it's not like it happens in a week. It can take some time, but just keep changing the story. Have one story in your head, you know, have one story to your womb. I have a healthy womb, you know, I'm healthy and fertile, and I'm going to meet my babies. And you got to change those stories. So
Mm.
it really comes down to, are you ready to change your story, or are you not? And those women that you reached out to, they're not ready to change their story. They're so
No, they're
ingrained
not
in it.
ready. And that's totally okay too. And then that's when I realized, like, I remember when you had shared with me, a lady came to you and wanted to feature you on her podcast. So you directed her my way. Okay. That was the very first podcast I was featured on. It was called the Lightworkers Lounge. She found me. I didn't find her. It was completely effortless. The response that I got from that podcast was outstanding. And that's how it has to be, I realized, because I've had that experience, and then I've had the experience now of, okay, I'm trying, because my website wasn't ready then, my content wasn't ready then, so I had a heap of people on a waiting list. I did make quite a few sales right when I launched from that waiting list, but after that it's been a little bit slow. So after that, I then reached out to I've probably reached out to over 50 podcasts, different podcasts around the world, asking them to feature me and feature my story and feature my content. Crickets, nothing, nothing at all. And I realized, okay, well, I just need to do me, and I just need to
Yeah.
do what I want and what I offer, and people will find me. Our vibration will attract. I'm not hunting anymore. I'm not chasing people. I'm not offering my program for free. I've done enough of that. I know that it's awesome. It's just,
Yeah.
here I am. Jump on the train with me if you like. And if you're not ready, that's okay too.
Absolutely. And what you're saying is just like life now too. You know, I talk a lot about working with the new energy, and it's exactly like you just said. It has to be effortless.
Mm.
So, I say we're becoming enlightened mamas. Another word for it is we're becoming embodied masters. And a master lets the energy serve them. In fact, I had this lovely little quote just come to me this week. The human asks to be saved. The master allows herself to be served. So a lot of women that are coming to you are saying, save me, or give me my baby, And what you're doing is you're helping them refocus that energy. You're helping them, kind of redefine it. And it's the same with anything. It's supposed to be effortless. I know that if I am putting too much energy into anything, then you know what I'm actually doing? I'm pushing it away. I am pushing it away. As masters, as embodied masters and enlightened mothers, we sit here knowing that, we're doing everything we're supposed to. There's nothing to worry about. There's nothing wrong. Everything works out. We're exactly where we're supposed to be. And we just let it come to us. We absolutely just let it come to us. I feel like you came to me, I didn't go looking for a replacement,
Exactly.
I feel like you came to me. And every time you come to me, I'm like, oh my God, Belle's here. I love it when Belle's here.
Yeah. And we have to be open to, like it's, yes, let things come to us, but we still need to steer the ship a little bit. Okay. We still have to have intention of, what we choose to create. I had a lady come to me for a spirit baby reading recently. And, I always believe in limitlessness, right? There's always a possibility. But this particular lady, she was 61 years old. She didn't menstruate anymore. Her partner didn't have any children and didn't want children. And she wanted to get pregnant, but she didn't want to use any reproductive technology. And she wanted me to tell her when her baby was coming. And I was like,
oh, yeah.
Okay. I'm not saying it's impossible, because a 61-year-old woman can get pregnant. But at this point, you do need a little bit of support with that, right? Whether that's reproductive help, whether that's you can't just expect me to tell you there's a baby coming if you're in a situation where it's highly unlikely that that's going to happen, right?
Exactly. In fact, I'm with you. I mean, I absolutely don't think that's impossible at all. But you can't say this is what I want, but I'm not open to all the ways it could come to me.
Not willing to make
if this is what you want, you have to.
Yeah.
Yes, you. In fact, I remember a woman coming to me and saying, she was trying to avoid surgery for something. I can't remember what it was, but she was just so afraid. It had something to do with her reproductive thing. And I said, look, I absolutely believe that you can heal on your own, but you also can't be limitless from a place of fear. So she was so afraid of going to the hospital. There's no way she's accessing her limitlessness.
Yes.
You have to explore all possibilities, knowing that each is equal. Everything can serve you, but you can't say, give me this wonderful miracle, but I'm not willing to do anything different to get it.
I'm not open to adoption. I'm not open to IVF. I'm like, okay, so the only way you're willing to do it is through a natural conception when you don't ovulate anymore and you don't have. So what you're praying for is a miracle, right? If you open yourself up to all the possibilities, and I'm going to use myself here for example, I tried for several years to get pregnant without IVF, and that's fine. But for me, IVF was like, absolutely not. I'm not doing it. I'm organic. I'm clean. I'm this. And then I had a dream, and my baby told me that they wanted to be conceived through IVF. And I had to really let go of all of the stories I had around how I was going to conceive my baby, right? My baby wanted to come through from IVF. Some babies might come through adoption. Some might come through surrogate. It's being open to infinite possibilities, however they may appear.
Yeah, exactly. And that reminds me of a couple women that I also did readings for that didn't want to do IVF. And when I would do the readings, I could see that there was a natural childbirth in the future, but the first one came through IVF.
Yes.
And so they had to open up to that. You know what I call it? I call it a bridge to your belief system.
Yes.
Like, yes, you're limitless, but you might need just a little help tweaking your thoughts and your mind, just a little help in changing the pattern there. And that's okay. But it really is being open to everything. And if you have to take a different action, especially one that you're afraid of, and especially one that you're resisting, then that's a way to really just tap into the infinite possibilities.
And the stories we tell ourselves. I was working with a lady recently, and she was so attached to using her own eggs. And she felt like the baby wouldn't be hers if she used a donor egg. And it was like, well, hang on a minute. Yeah, the egg might come from somebody else, right? But it's coming into your body. You're connecting with it. Your DNA is weaving into it. You're growing the baby for 9 months. That baby is biologically yours. Even though some of the DNA and the cells are made up from another woman, the way that I see it is you get like a double strand. Like the baby gets to choose, do I want your DNA? Do I want that? The baby gets to pluck the best DNA from wherever they want. They get the smorgasbord DNA.
And it's still your baby. It's still the baby you're talking to. It's still the baby that's going to come through. It's still your baby. It's the same with adoption. I've done readings for women who adopted babies, and they were having spirit baby conversations with an adopted baby.
Yeah.
It's actually quite amazing and
It's
beautiful.
so amazing. And I wonder if that's always meant to be part of the path, and potentially they do try and conceive their baby and they can't, and letting go and opening up to the adoption process is part of their journey. It doesn't make them any less of a mother.
Yeah, exactly. And how many stories have we heard where people have adopted and then they get pregnant? The adoption is sort of letting go of that old story of this is how it has to happen. And when you let go of that old story, then you get what you kind of always wanted. And I have so many sayings, but it's when I need nothing, that's when I can have everything. And I think we do get really fixated on our stories, that we have blinders, and we limit how things can come to us, and we even resist the energies that are offering to serve us, because and then it's human. That's human. We all have to do this, whether it's on the trying to conceive journey or on the road to enlightenment. We have to take the blinders off and look around and just.
And it's like I like to use the analogy of money. Like someone says, I want to be a millionaire and I'm going to win $1 million. And it's like, okay, well, if you're telling yourself you're going to be a millionaire and you're going to win $1 million, you're narrowing out all the other infinite possibilities of the ways $1 million could come to you. Because what if it's going to come to you through an inheritance or a prize home, or all of these other ways? When it's just like you said.
And what if it's more than $1 million that wants to come to you?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
what if it's more than $1 billion? What if it's $1 billion or $1 trillion? Who knows?
Exactly. I don't like to put a number on it. I just like to call it outrageous wealth.
Right.
Outrageous wealth just comes to me. It just comes to me.
Excellent. How's that working out for you in your new paradigm? Because you've been living a little bit of a different way. Why don't you share a little bit about how you've opened your life up now to living in this new energy and what that looks like for you on the other side of this?
Well, I will tell you, and I'll tell you that it hasn't been easy, but I know that my husband and I have definitely been pioneers in this. And in many ways, it's what people don't want to talk about. But, there is this saying that says, a funny thing happened on the way to enlightenment and I lost everything. And basically that's true. And I don't say this to scare people, but if you're watching this right now, you've probably experienced some of this, even if it's like the loss of fertility. You lose the things that you're attached to, and it's for a very important reason. It's to shed those false identities, the false labels. It's to shed what society thinks of you and expects of you, and it's really to focus on what's in right here, your inner guidance, your inner wisdom, what I call the God self. You're probably going to get sick of me saying there's a saying, but there is a saying that with humans, this is possible. With God, all things are possible. And I think this journey that our children are taking us on is reuniting us with our God self, not the God that's up there in the sky, but the God that lives right here in our hearts, that knows everything, that knows why we are here, that chose this for us. So there's a shedding of everything else, so you can really just focus on this voice inside. And for me, that meant saying goodbye to all my friends. And it wasn't sad for me. Actually, it was just I mean, there was some sadness and there was some guilt, but it was just time to really just focus within. And with friends, there can be some energy drama, some energy sucking, or, it can be just, it can be a distraction, So if I had to let go of my friends, I had to declare bankruptcy. And not because I couldn't pay anything, but because our house was in foreclosure. And I had to do that to, stop the banks. Um, and yet, my husband and I are what I would call retired. We live in this beautiful house for free, And it's funny how the divine has provided for us. We have this our mortgage payment is to a lawyer that we pay, and he's such a feared lawyer that the banks don't want to touch him. So we just pay our lawyer, and the banks leave us alone. In fact, they're offering us money if we want to leave the house. It's so funny, like, we'll pay you a lot of money if you leave. I'm waiting till the offer is pay us a lot of money to stay, but these things sound scary, they sound really scary. When I had to go to bankruptcy court, it was terrifying, but it was liberating. And you know what that was? That was the divine taking care, and I've already said parasites, of the parasites, the, the credit cards that we didn't need to pay. We could pay them, but I went to bankruptcy court, so we didn't have to. That was parasitic. The corporations, sucking from us, our ridiculous mortgage that we had. We paid for this house double of what it was worth in the first 8 years we've lived here. It was the divine saying, you've paid enough on this house and now you can stay. And then there's a couple other things. My husband got an insurance settlement that let him just kind of quit his job, which is good, because like me, it was just time for him to stop his work. He was an entrepreneur like me with his own business. And then we got an inheritance. And I mean, I have a cleaning lady. I have someone who picks up my dog poo. I mean, I live in a beautiful house, and yet neither one of us work. Our children are home. We're fully provided for. And, so our cleaning lady came today. And so what did we do? We went on a family hike up a mountain. We went out for pizza. We spent our days together as a family. And it sounds idyllic. However, it has not been easy feeling comfortable in this, so you have to shed 3D ideas of what you're supposed to look like. Your kids have to be in school. If you're not working, then you're a failure. If you had to file bankruptcy, then you're in. Actually, that's a little secret. Bankruptcy is not hard. It's a way out of the system that's sucking from you. And so there's actually right now, there's freedom and liberation, but you have to trust it. And that's the hardest thing, is trusting the divine has got your back. When society doesn't seem to have your back, the banks don't have your back, the government doesn't have your back, no one really has a steady job anymore.
Now more than ever, right? With what's going on collectively.
Yeah.
Especially in Australia. I don't know if anyone's seen what's happening in Australia, but the tyranny at the hands of our government right now, and people just handing over their sovereignty to the government, it makes me sick to my stomach. But all I can do is stand in my light and stand in my sovereignty, and not let anyone else's fear and projections of what I'll lose if I don't do what the government says. You won't be able to travel, you won't be able to do this, you won't be able to do that. It's like, I don't buy into any of that.
Exactly. So, as I'm telling this story here, I'm thinking, geez, according to mainstream, I would look like a failure, and who would want to emanate that? But no, what it is, it's really getting out of the system, extricating yourself from, actually, you don't need to work 9 to 5 for a job you hate. You don't have to work nonstop. You don't have to have your kids away from you all the time. You can live the way you want to live and be fully supported, even if you don't know how that support is going to find itself to you. So my husband and I have been sort of pioneers in that. And especially for a man, it's not easy. They're used to being the provider, and, they have their own journeys. But on the flip side of that, so, people would look at this and think you're a failure. But no, we have a lot of money at the bank. We have our freedom. But mostly what I have is I have this inner peace and this knowing, And so now I live my life. This is my life. It's art, it's music, And sometimes I am so moved by music now, Belle, that I have to go outside with my speakers and I have to go dance with the trees and the rocks and the sky and the birds because I'm just so moved, you know? And it's seeing such beauty in everything. So what's the trade-off? So you extricate yourself out of society so you can listen to the divine voice and the God self within. What's the trade-off? It's everything else. It's everything else. Because when you have that peace within, and, you know, and as you know, I had my moment of enlightenment last year, but I've had about 3 other moments of enlightenment since then, you know, where things just fall into place and like, oh, there's a deeper peace. Oh, there's a deeper understanding. Like, oh, I totally get that now. And the trade-off is just feeling like everything fits, everything is exactly where it's supposed to be. Even if people are struggling, my loved ones, I can see how it is serving them, how they were choosing that, how they're gaining wisdom from that. It's a freedom of worrying about taking care of things and fixing things and finagling things. There's nothing to fix, figure out, or finagle, you know? It's just, there's an enjoyment. There's this life here on this earth, even in all its chaos, can be absolutely beautiful. I call it perfection consciousness, you know, where you see the perfection and the preciousness in everything, even the chaos. And you know, it's funny, my husband and I are kind of drawn to these dark movies and dark documentaries right now. And I think it's because sometimes those stories need to be seen with a higher light and a higher wisdom. And I can see the humanness behind it and why that's happened. And how, you know, watching it with a different set of eyes can actually kind of heal it a little bit. I know that might sound strange, but yeah, what's the trade-off when you shun everything out there is that you find what I'll call the peace that passeth all understanding in here. You know, the kingdom of heaven is really in here. And that is what we're headed for. And that's what these babies are guiding us to, is this love story, not just between the baby and us, but this love story between us and our God self, you know, just where you can't help but love yourself so much that it overflows into love for everything else, even the chaos, because it just makes sense.
Yeah, I know, like being here in Australia at the moment, you know, there's so much projection of like, oh, if you don't do this, you won't be able to travel, you won't be able to go to the coffee shop, you won't be able to shop, whatever. I don't want any part of that society, right? Any society that's dividing people based on a vaccination status, I don't want any part of that society. So it requires us to disentangle and find that God self within, because they can't take that from you. And then you can stand above it and look down, almost as if you are shining your light on this really ridiculous movie that's playing out. And we're all going there, right? And we just need people who are going first, right? We need pioneers to anchor in that frequency. And then every shop you go to and every interaction you have, your energy is rippling out to that person. And you are changing their frequency just by them standing in your presence.
Exactly. And let me tell you how shopping is for me now. I know that's what I'm doing when I go out. I just go out and you know what? I took off the masks back in May and people have been encouraged to put them back on, but I won't put mine back on. I just won't. And what I do is what I've always done. I just smile at everybody. And, you know, wherever I go, they kind of know me now. And I see people just stepping in to serve me. So I went to Walmart the other day and this wonderful kid comes out and hands me a cart. And then we have this great conversation. And then I go and these strangers, because I'm smiling at them, they're saying hi, they're talking to me. Before COVID, I would hug strangers all the time. But, you know, and then I go to the grocery store and the produce guy is opening a chestnut for me so I can try it. And we're having this great conversation. And, you know, when you go out like this and you're shining your light, people are drawn to it. And you will notice that they will serve you. It's not like, oh, you're my slave and you're going to serve me. No, they're drawn to you and they want to do things for you. You know, it's a beautiful experience. It's really a beautiful experience. Grocery shopping is my favorite day of the week. I get to go out, shine my light, and have these great conversations, interactions with people. And it sounds strange, but that's really all we need to be doing. That's all we need to be doing is to change our thoughts, say, okay, I'm ready to be sovereign and free here, and to shine the light, It's easy. It's simple, but it's not easy. You know, it's simple, but it's not easy to get there. But that's really all.
Australia, my experience is a little bit different to that at the moment, because the pressure from the government to vaccinate, to wear a mask, to do all the, it's very, very strong. There's a lot of pressure. And I just, for me as a healthy woman, to force me to do something when my intuition says no, it just says no. So I don't mask, I don't do any of these things. And when I go out, it's like other people that I know that don't mask, they get, people get angry at them and yell at them and they have arguments, whatever. But for me, it's like I'm invisible. I just go everywhere. No one says anything. I'm like literally just walking around, doing my thing, living, standing in my sovereignty, and I'm invisible. I don't have any arguments. People don't say anything.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And it's because what you're putting out there, you're not putting out conflict. The people who take the mask off and they're getting something said to them, it's because they have this defense mechanism. Like, yeah, I don't have my mask off. What are you going to do about it?
Yes.
So people do say something, even if they don't know that's what they're portraying. They don't know that's what they're portraying, you know?
Yeah.
But you're just out there. I'm sovereign. I'm free. And so people leave you alone.
Yes, I'm sovereign, I'm free. And I only got denied entry from one place. And I was like, oh, that's okay. I'll go circulate my money somewhere else. Right. I didn't get mad about it. I was just like, I'll circulate my money to a different business. That's fine by me for the moment. Right.
Right. Exactly.
I know what's happening in the future. This timeline that it looks like chaos, this timeline isn't the future timeline for humanity. We are ascending. We are moving beyond this. So this is just the fall of the 3D paradigm. What we're witnessing now going on, you know, in places of the world, especially here, is the collapse of that paradigm that's not serving humanity any longer.
Exactly. And in many ways, it's a reaction to the light that we are putting out, you know? So you shine this light, and then what the darkness, you know, it just wants to scramble and, you know, fight for it. It's like a reaction to the light. You're right. This is not where we're headed.
No.
You know, it's like we're cleaning out the closet and we just have to take all the things out of the closet and it's just a big mess. You know, it's just a big mess at first. But then when you put the closet back, it's all nice and clean and organized. And exactly, this is a huge transition period.
And bring it back around. These babies that are coming to the earth, they're not coming to the earth to be in a enslaved society where we're living under medical tyranny. They're not coming to the earth for that. These are the cavalry of light. These star babies are coming to shine in their sovereignty and to quantum leap the consciousness of humanity.
Yes.
So
exactly.
You are bringing forth one of these babies. If you're watching this, you absolutely are. One of these babies is coming to you because he or she knows that you are the most kick-ass mama to come and be part of their family. And they're so excited to get here.
Exactly. Exactly. And I just want to say, I really don't want the stories of what I've told people to scare anyone off. You know, I was a way shower. And so, you know, I had to do a lot of other things, and it's not going to be as difficult for those coming up behind. You know, there wasn't a path before where I had to go and where you had to go. We had to blaze those trails. So the people coming after, they will have an easier time of it. But then I also want to say, don't be afraid of the things you have to lose. If you have to lose something, if you're being asked to let something go, because those are things that are just representing a false or limited part of you. And anything that you have to let go, it's just ultimately going to lead you to your divine sovereignty, you know? And that's what the babies want for us. You know, they're acting as our guides right now because they know where we're headed, and they're just going to, you know, help show us a little way, you know, shine a little light on it. This is where you're going, mama. I can help you if you want. But you know, there's another saying, you know, and I'm gonna mess it up, but you know, in the darkest of winter is where I found the eternal summer within. You know, there is this peace within us where really everything is incredibly, incredibly beautiful, and everything fits and it's comfortable, and you just can't even wait to wake up in the morning because you get to be yourself. You get to be with yourself. You get to be yourself. And that is what changes the world. That is what changes the world, that frequency. And it'll change it rather quickly too. Yeah.
Oh, that's just so juicy and delicious. I mean, I know you have to go, but this is like, I could like literally talk to you all day long. It's like, oh my
By so
God. We
fast.
just love this multi-dimensional expanded conversation. And that's what we're going to do here. We're going to really expand ourselves, expand our consciousness. Not like we have to work hard. It's just about being in our heart and allowing ourselves to evolve. And for me also, like you, Kate, that that required that I lost everything that I had. I mean, obviously I have my family and my partner, but for me, I was working in a job where I wasn't happy. I wasn't earning money in alignment, but I had a lot of it. And my soul had been telling me for quite some time to leave that job, and I didn't listen. I couldn't. I wasn't able. I wasn't willing to let go. And I got sick for 2 whole years. It took me to lose everything and lose all of my money and be like, have not 1 cent in my bank account before I was ready to go, might be time to change. Don't get to
Right.
that point, okay? Don't
Right.
get to that
Exactly.
point.
Yeah. Because if we don't do it, life will be sure it does it for us. Yeah. Yeah.
Yes. Well, thank you
But
so
yeah,
much for joining us today. We just love having you here, and I just love your knowledge, and I love everything about your expanded way of living. You're such an inspiration to me and such an inspiration to many. It's just so beautiful that you've paved the way for all of us to follow.
oh, thank you, Belle. I will talk to you anytime. Anytime. I just love you.
Oh. Well, it's a mutual love, and I just respect and love your work. So again, if you haven't had Kate's book, it is the legacy that she leaves for the spirit baby realm. Can you say the title? I always mess it up.
What all spirit babies want their mamas to know.
What? And when I bought that book, I got the e-copy, but there is a hard copy too, right?
Yeah, there's a paperback. Yep.
Yeah, there's a paperback
Yep.
because I did a reading for a lady you sent my way, and she had a like, oh, I got my book from Kate, and it was the paperback, and I was like, oh wow, yeah, beautiful paperback.
Yeah.
Excellent. Yeah,
Yeah.
I think it's always nice to read a paperback book.
I know. I agree. I agree. Yeah.
I might even buy a copy and gift it to someone on this membership platform. I might do a little competition 1 month. So hold me to that.
That's a great idea. That's a great
Yeah.
idea.
All right. Thanks, everyone. Bye for now.